Hey everybody, Charlie and R2 here, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We last left off, we submitted the tip of the blade that we found in Mr. Garadeb's pipe as evidence. Let's see how this plays out. Yes, almost certainly from the tip of a blade. And what may appear at first to be just a tiny scrap is in fact a crucial piece of evidence. Interesting. And where did the defense come by this evidence? It was lodged in the chamber of Mr. Garadeb's pipe. My pipe, you say? By Jove, I wonder how that got there. And what precisely does this fragment of metal signify, Counsel? Are you suggesting that it is in some way related to the matter of the stabbing on Briar Road? That's where it all comes together, right here. I am. What? When put together with another piece of evidence already in the court record, I believe this tiny fragment of metal will unravel the whole truth of this case, my lord. He's missing the back of his cigar jacket is burnt. I love that. You appear rather confident in that extraordinary statement, counsel. Very well then, present the pertinent evidence to the court. What evidence, when paired with this fragment of metal, allegedly reveals the truth of this entire case? That would be the knife. Present.
Take that!
This is a knife that was found in the victim's back. If you look closely, you will see that there's a small piece at the tip of the blade that is missing. A common issue with inferior blades sold at unsavory street markets. Criminals who use them regularly leave the tips lodged in their victims' bones. And what of this particular knife? No doubt its tip has suffered a similar fate, now languishing somewhere near the spine of the victim.
Objection!
Nope, that's not the case. The tip of this particular knife's blade is the very fragment of metal we discovered in the chamber of Mr. Garadeb's pipe. Ah! Good grief, Lord Van Sykes? I don't believe it. The knife from the crime scene and this fragment of metal are a perfect match. Hey, at least he's admitting it's a perfect match. Good golly gosh. Order. Is this some sort of Eastern sorcery? No. I just found the piece of metal that belongs to the knife. How is that sorcery? This is no magic, my lord. This is a miracle. A miracle? So Van Sykes has figured it out, has he? Counsel, explain this extraordinary coincidence at once. Yes, my lord. The crucial point we have to ask ourselves here is when did the fragment of metal find its way inside Mr. Garadeb's pipe? Something that was clarified for us in the most recent witness testimony. Had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean out with one of her soft projectiles she did, yes. It would never have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Oh no, her cheeks. They're quivering. Oh dearie me. During the argument between these two that occurred just as the victim was on the pavement below, Mrs. Garadeb flung this knife at her husband. However, the knife missed Mr. Garadeb, instead striking the pipe in his hand at the time. which caused the tip to break off, of course. He's on our side. He sees it. Look at that. Look at that look in his eyes. That smoldering look of Lord Van Zykes. He sees that we are genuine. And we're not just trying to be like a shady defense lawyer. He respects it. I see it. There's respect in those eyes. Good Lord. Yes. And that is when the tiny tip of the blade found its way inside Mr. Garedub's pipe. The chances of that are 1,000,000 to 1. And yet there's no other credible explanation for how the tip of the blade ended up in your pipe. Then, after losing its tip, the knife ricocheted off the pipe and flew out of the open window. Ah. In short, this knife, which fell from the window of the Garedub's house, is the very same knife that struck the victim in the middle of the back on the street below. Oh gosh, oh dear, oh. No! Blew this case wide open. What's the objection? Hallowed chalice time. A full-bodied theory. I'll give you that. Yeah? A complex bouquet of seemingly trivial points, plausibly arranged to create an almost passable vintage. Allow me to toast my learned friend's characteristically Nipponese approach to bottling his argument. Sorry? But after all, it is just a theory. The bottle, I fear, is corked. Because, you see... I'm just gonna start doing that, like just in daily life, when I want to prove a point. I'm just gonna slam my foot down on the table in front of me with a glass of wine in my hand, or a goblet, a chalice of wine. It's spoilt by an insurmountable inconsistency. An insurmountable what? Lord Van Zykes, explain yourself. What is this inconsistency you claim to have identified? An inconsistency of the simplest nature, my lord. The victim was found with a knife planted in the middle of her back. Yes, she bent over to pick up the fiery book. What? Come on, I gotta spell everything out, I guess. Yes, in her... Ah! That's right, you silly little man. Now, Joan, old thing, what are you getting so excited about? Let us consider the basic facts of the case once more. The victim was walking along the pavement before being stabbed in the back and falling to the ground. If the knife that struck her had fallen from above, there's no possible way it could have planted itself into the victim's back. Gag. You can see his undies. Order. Quite right, you see, that's exactly right. If the knife had fallen on her from above, it would have struck her on the top of her head. Well, he's lost for words. Look, I knew it. I never liked his theory in the first place. I don't know, though. What really did happen? It would appear the fence has made a rather spectacular blunder. If a theory has even one inconsistency, it cannot stand. Your theory, my learned friend, is history. No, it's not. It's not history. I know the answer. Just say it. We were so close I could see the truth. I was so sure we were on the right track. We are. But now the way has been blocked completely by one simple inconsistency. Or in other words, We simply need to eliminate that one inconsistency and the theory will stand. Miss Susato? You mustn't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. You were just caught off guard, that's all. And your mind went blank. But if the path you were on is indeed correct, then a way will present itself. The key to this is in the court record, I'm sure. All the information you need is there. It seems you have nothing to say, my Nipponese friend. Well, your silence speaks volumes. A tacit acceptance that your theory is fatally flawed. It's not, I'm telling you, she bent over to pick up the book. This inconsistency doesn't mean I was on the wrong track. It means that I need to sharpen my mind and dig deeper for the truth. It's a test. Yes. If the knife fell on the victim from above, there's no way that it could have hit her in the middle of her back. Under normal circumstances, that is. Such drama. Like, no one can just say anything straight. There has to be an entire show about everything. I love it. What are you implying? Counsel? There's a piece of evidence in the court record that can explain this inconsistency. That can explain how the knife that fell from above could have pierced the victim's back. We already have the answer. Goodness. Utter madness. Surely this must be the last time. Counsel, present the evidence of which you speak. This is the last inconsistency. The final piece in the puzzle. I feel like you said it a few times already. And this case has gone on for many, many episodes. We'll see if this actually is the last time. If I can successfully make sense of this, the truth will be laid bare at last. I got 4 chances here. I know what I want to say. What I want to say is clearly she was holding the book, so she had bent down to pick up the book. Do I show the picture of her holding it as evidence? Or do I show the book itself as evidence? And I think that's it. I think it's one of those two. So we're going to show the picture as evidence. Let's present it.
Take that!
This, the 4th book found at the scene. This is the final piece of evidence that the defense will present. The burnt book? Is that not Mr. Karadev's book? We got what I feel is victory music, so we'll see. Yes, and to understand its significance, we have to consider how it came to be at the scene in the first place. This photographic print clearly shows the book in question, and the victim holding it in her hand. But as we all know now, flip that around, now know. It was the police constable that put the book between her fingers like that. Quite so, as part of his wholesale transplanting of the crime scene to the opposite side of the road. That's true, however, as part of his testimony, Constable Beat made an extremely enlightening statement on that point. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. In other words, the victim had already picked the book up of her own volition. And clearly that must have been before she suffered the knife wound. Well, I should say so. After being attacked with a knife, I don't imagine she'd have been doing much of anything. So the question becomes, why did the victim have that book in her hand? By Django! I think I'm beginning to see what may have happened now. Oh, dearie me. He sees it too. We know that the book fell from the top floor of the Garadeb household onto the pavement below, at precisely the moment that the victim was walking past. Yes, at exactly that moment, the young woman was walking along the street in the light fog, when all of a sudden, a book fell right in front of her. The book I threw. Yes, Miss Garadeb, and what do you think the woman did? What would you do if you were walking along and suddenly a book landed in front of you on the pavement? Well, I really can't imagine it, but I suppose she might have reached down and picked the book up. That music, though. Yes, that is exactly what the woman in fact did. She picked up the book. Oh heavens. And when the woman reached down to pick the fallen book up, what position would her back have been in? That's right, facing the sky, completely and utterly defenseless. Then, in the very next moment, while the woman was still bent over picking up the book, such graphic detail. The next object fell from the room above, the jackknife straight into the middle of her back. And at that same time, walking by chance directly behind Miss Green, was the defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Well, I never. It appeared to Mr. Natsume that the woman simply collapsed on the floor, in the dark and the fog. He didn't see the knife falling on her from above. Ah. And from the other direction, the constable and his wife saw no one but the victim and her apparent attacker. So there never was a real culprit to run from the scene in the first place. No, this was nothing more than a series of unlikely events that culminated in an unfortunate accident. And that is the real truth behind this case. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb? The very first time you showed me that knife, I had my suspicions. I wondered if perhaps it might have been something like that. There, old bean. Poor Mrs. Garadeb. Really? Of course, I never meant for anything of the sort to happen, but it was all my fault, wasn't it? Yes. Yes, it was all your fault. Ye with arms of considerable horsepower. I take full responsibility. I let my anger get the better of me. I threw that book, and I threw the knife as well. John, dear. It's all right. I know. I'm ever so sorry. Truly. I'm sorry. And passed out. Oh, he called her. He's struggling, but he called her. Oof. Just lay her down? Okay, no. Just fall down. Lord Van Zykes, what news of Mrs. Garadeb? She's been taken to the infirmary. It would appear that today's events have left her in an especially flustered state. However, I believe she will recover in due course. There is no cause for concern. Yes, unbeknownst to themselves, they caused what could have easily been a terrible tragedy. They shall have to prepare themselves for the consequences of their actions. There is some good news, however, my lord. I have just had word from the hospital where the victim is being treated. Her condition is improving steadily, and the doctor believes she will regain consciousness soon. It's strange. We've been talking about the victim all this time, but we've never once met her. How wonderful. The woman is out of danger, it seems. Yes, that is good news. So, Mr. Soseki Natsume, you shady-looking Edgar Allan Poe analog. Yes? On behalf of my fellow countrymen, I would like to take this opportunity to beg your pardon, sir. You came from your distant eastern homeland to study our great British culture, and have been repaid with immeasurable unkindness. Please accept our heartfelt apologies. Alliteration time? No. It is me who should be begging your pardon. Oh no, Mr. Natsume. That evening, when the young woman just collapsed on the pavement before my eyes, I jumped to the wrong conclusion again in my confusion. What conclusion, sir? I was sure that the woman was dead. Yes, Constable Beat said the same thing, didn't he? He thought she had been killed too. I suppose she must have looked completely lifeless. It's been about a year since I arrived in Great Britain now, but I still can't get used to life here. I can't relax. I'm sure there are evil spirits lurking in the fog, like they're haunting me. Poor Soseki-san. His imagination really has got the better of him. Yes, poor man. So when it happened, I thought the young woman had been taken by the fog spirits. Fog spirits, you say? I should never have dropped my books like that and run away. I should have called for help, for a doctor, for the police. Instead, I've managed to create a rift in the relationship of trust between our two empires. And for that, I am truly sorry. One could indeed say that some sort of mischievous spirit has been at work here, I think. One that created a chain of unfortunate mishaps. We were befooled by this spirit and led to false conclusions. But thanks to Lord Van Zykes and our young lawyer here from the east, that chain has now been broken and the spirit exorcised. I heartily commend you both. Oh. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Yes, my lord. In concluding this trial, I must ask one last time for your decisions regarding the defendant's culpability. Are you ready to present your findings to the court? As the foreman of this jury, I can assure you we've reached a fair and just conclusion. I do declare the truth can be extremely cruel at times. Well, I didn't suspect the woman next to me, that's for sure. How is he up there now? Sitting in for the old bean while she's out of action, you know, but I know what her decision would be. Does this mean I'll finally be able to get out of here and start work? Well, it's about time. I say, I'll have a corker of a story to tell the grandchildren when I get home, won't I? Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby demand your final decisions. Mr. Foreman.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Boom. We've won. Very well, Mr. Soseki Natsume, I hereby pronounce you not guilty. Why is there confetti in the courtroom? And fireworks. And finally, Mr. Natsume. Oh, yes, Lord, sir. You are now a free man once more. It is my hope that you will continue to further your education in British culture. And may you never again be brought before me. Oh, yes, sir. Of course. On my life, I swear I'll never set foot in a courtroom again. I'm transported 2 tiers. Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned. We did it. 20th of February, 3:17 p.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. Oh, locum. Wait, you mean me? Of course. Is there another locum here? Is there even one? Compared to the original locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, your name has become rather short, hasn't it? What's wrong with using my actual name? Oh, at last, I'm free, Joyful, joyous, jubilant, jubilation. Heady, hearty, happiness, hurrah. Oh, I am pleased. Mr. Natsume is delighted. Would it be so hard just to say that then? Locum, you did it. You saved me from the brink. Well, what happened to the poor woman was in no way your fault after all. I'm just glad everyone can see that now. No, not that. Lovely, loyal, locum lawyer. Yes? I mean, as I said before, I have just never got used to life here in Great Britain. Every time I look over my shoulder, I see foreigners. I see towering brick buildings. And from high up windows, I see them looking down on me, laughing. Look at that little hunchback. Oh dear. I'm sure it's all in your head, Mr. Natsume. But today, you, locum lawyer, gave my gloom the boot. You stood firm behind that baronial bench before all those babbling British. You battled to the bitter end, laying bare the baffling truth. Oh, look at the alliteration with some words in between now. And when I beheld the blinding fireworks among the beams of the Bailey's roof, I bellowed, "Behold the best barrister ever born." Well, that's very flattering, and we're very pleased for you. This has given me a wonderful anecdote to recount to my old friends back in Japan. An anecdote? Is that what's become of all my hard work? Ah, there you are, my dear fellows. Let me guess, Herlock? Boom, there he is. I apologize for keeping you waiting. I rose late this morning. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, what a pleasure to see you. I see I'm here not a moment too soon. A disaster has been averted, I'm glad to say. Oh? The trial shall begin presently, Mr. Naruhodo, and I wish you the very best of luck. You're a little late there, buddy. It's just finished. What? No. Then my haste was in vain? Arg, it's you. Herlock Sholmes. Oh, have we met, sir? This is Mr. Natsume, the man you had arrested, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, I see. I failed to recognize you at first. Our previous encounters have taken place in the gloom. Either of your bleak lodgings or that prison cell. I simply couldn't place that curious face in the light. Charming. This is all your fault, Herlock Sholmes. You're the reason I had to go through this terrible ordeal. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. My apologies, sir, but I assure you, I have placed you now. You're the fellow who abandoned that poor young lady and ran off, are you not? Ah. Had she been taken to the hospital more urgently, I feel perhaps she would have regained consciousness by now. Oh. But it was unavoidable, I'm sure. We are but human, after all. Anyone would have been shaken by such an experience. I do feel very badly about how I behaved. Well, never mind. Now then, what was it that you wanted to say to me, sir? Nothing. Ha ha ha. Priceless. Oh, I am sorry, really, but that was quite priceless. Poor Soseki-san. Still, on the bright side, you've had an extremely entertaining experience without paying a penny. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, please consider a like, a comment, and or a subscribe. It really helps the channel. Stay tuned for the next episode. Not episode. Stay tuned for the next episode. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.